Yes, I'm still here, Hollywood. Coming up on today's episode, our guest today has worked steadily in Hollywood for over 6 decades, which means he's either doing something very right, or he made a deal with a really good agent and the devil. He's played everything from nerdy kid to government suit to guy who clearly knows more than he's letting on. He's best known as America's favorite four-eyed little brother. This is Still Here Hollywood. I'm four-eyed Steve Kmetko. Join me with today's guest, actor Barry Livingston, Ernie, from My Three Sons. If this is your first time watching or listening to Still Here Hollywood, what took you so long? Even if you're a longtime fan, I have a favor to ask. If you feel it in your heart, please like and follow us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Or if you watch on YouTube, please subscribe. And with both, it would be great if you rated and commented on your favorite episodes. Thank you so much. And now, on with the show. Barry, thanks for coming in today. I'm really glad to see you.
I'm glad to be here.
I watched you were a part of my youth growing up.
Thank you.
A big part.
Thank you.
In fact, I can still do the...
I know exactly where you're going with that. Yeah, you got to get the feet in there. And now we owe Frank Duvall royalty for because you sang that. Yeah, no. Yeah, he's the guy who wrote the theme song.
Merv Griffin used to get a royalty every time they played the Jeopardy theme.
Is that right? Wow.
Yes, that's true. You were one of the first actors, child actors, to wear glasses on TV.
Yeah, I did. Before we did doing this, I briefly explained the story. I wasn't wearing glasses. I got cast in a movie, the very first thing I ever did, called Rally Around the Flag Boys, with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. My brother actually had an audition to go to 20th Century Fox and audition for the producers playing one of the sons. My mother just dragged me along, and I'm 5 years old, I guess, 4 or 5. And anyway, back in the day, you'd go and you read. They came out and go, "We love your son. We're going to hire him." But then they go, "Who's that?" And I'm sitting there, and they're going, "Well, there's another son. There's 2 kids, that Paul and Joanne, who are the stars and married." And they said, "Does he act?" And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going, yeah. I went in, came out, got the job. Anyway, that was my entry into Hollywood. I wasn't wearing glasses at the time when I got cast, and I had a little problem on the set, and my eyes started to cross. And they took me to a hospital. They, weren't sure if I was having a seizure or what. They thought, we better check this out. I went straight to Cedars-Sinai, probably over in that area. And they said, no, he's got an astigmatism. He needs glasses. I came back to the set a day or 2 later and said, we got to fire this kid because we didn't see Paul Newman's son back in the day. Yeah, I had buck teeth and Mo Howard bowl cut and glasses. And they're going, I think the glasses was a bit much. And I was driven off. I can remember to this day being put in the back of a limousine and being driven off the lot. I was like, wow, welcome to Hollywood.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Did you and your brother work a lot?
We worked. That was the first thing we did together. And I'm still in the movie, actually. They replaced me with another kid. But the very first scene where you see it, I'm upside down because Percy Kilbride, I think, the character actor, and Joanne Woodward had me by the feet, and I'm upside down because I swallowed some coins, and as a gag, they're shaking me. But in the rest of the movie, it's when the kid's standing on his feet, it's a different kid. So we started out there. Then Ozzie and Harriet, Stan was on that show for a while, and I think I did 1 or 2 episodes with Stan while he was the kid next door. Stan got cast as Chip on My Three Sons. And then the Nelsons, Ozzie, literally just slipped me into the kid next door slot. So a few times. Those are the probably the most prominent.
Percy Kilbride, wasn't he Pa Kettle?
I think so. Yeah.
Where did I pull that from?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did you enjoy working together, you and your brother?
Yeah. I mean, it was a pain for me to get let go because I thought, well, they didn't fire him. I'm the one who got the axe. So, I mean, he had nothing to do with it, obviously, and it was, the showbiz. But it was, I loved being around my brother. It's my big brother, and we, he looked out for me, and it was fun to be in his company. So even all the years we were on My Three Sons was a real joy and a pleasure, and And Don Grady, who played Robbie, became my pseudo brother. Tim Considine, who was actually the guy replaced in My Three Sons, was very brotherly to me. So I in addition to having my real brother, I had my extra brothers.
Don Grady passed away not terribly long ago.
Yeah, maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
And what was it like working with Fred McMurray and William Frawley and William Demarest?
Well, yeah, there was Fred was clearly the CEO of the company, and we were kind of junior executives in the firm, treated with respect, but he lived in a whole other stratosphere. His whole world he was a major star for 20, 30 years before he went to My Three Sons. So he was always polite. He was kind of a shy guy, though, actually. He was a very reserved man, conservative. He was always respectful and helpful, but never in any way were we invited to his house for a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving, or I think we got a Christmas card from him. I don't think we ever even got a present from Fred, but that was the way he did things. Frawley and Demarest they were both, they were both long time well-established character actors and stars in their own right. And of course, we love Frawley from I Love Lucy as Fred Mertz. So, I wasn't that familiar with Demarest until, suddenly, he was in My Three Sons. And I went, oh, he's been in a lot of big, great movies.
And that show didn't seem to skip a beat.
No, it didn't. It could slide people in and out, pretty easily. There was, I think, a 6-episode arc that explained Ernie, who I came onto the show as the friend next door, while Tim Considine, who was the original oldest son, was still there. But then Tim wanted to direct, and they let him direct one episode, but I don't think Fred, and he made this demand the next time contract negotiations came up, he would like to be the full-time director, and Fred was not going to have that. So they said, bye, and I was waiting in the bullpen for the call, came in as the adopted son, and there were 6 episodes. Once they got past those 6 episodes, you never heard about Mike ever again. You never understood how Ernie suddenly became part of the Douglas family, it's television that
And then they slipped Beverly Garland into...
Tina Cole, Beverly Garland, Dawn Lynn. There was some... Jodie Foster was a recurring character on the show for a while. They had all kinds of, big people early in their careers. Ryan O'Neal, Bruce Dern, Martin Sheen, all kinds of people came through there. Ed Begley Sr. and Ed Begley Jr.
Ed Begley Jr. was here on this show.
Was he? Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, no, it was, again, it only after time. I remember I was doing a show called The Guardian, and Emilio Estevez was directing it, and one day he came in and said, the old man said to say hi. I'm going, old man, he's my dad, he was on My Three Sons with you. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah, I was probably in the schoolroom or something and didn't have much to do with him, but I thought, well, you remembered. That was nice.
Well, that was quite an introduction and education for you.
Yeah, I mean, you mean
growing up through all those people and seeing how they work and...
Yeah, I mean, primarily I was exposed to McMurray, and he was a gifted comedian and a gifted actor, and Frawley and Demarest were in their own right, really good at what they did. You had no idea who was going to move on to a career, beyond that. Actually, Ryan O'Neal was originally cast as Robbie, and in the pilot, and McMurray didn't think he was funny, and he was replaced with Don Grady. Of course, Brian went on to have a fabulous career as a light comedian.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good people.
You mentioned your mother being there for some of the activities going on. Was she a stage mom?
My mother, and I
ask that with all due respect.
No, she was a character, and I'll be completely frank with you, she was a burlesque dancer. She met my dad. My dad owned burlesque theaters in Baltimore, and she ran away at 16 from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Never got the full story why, but nonetheless, because
it was called Beaver Falls.
It was a good place to get. The only other guy was Joe Namath, came from Beaver Falls. But so they had this show busy kind of connection. No entries, no nepotism to some rich producer uncle that brought us into the biz. But they were well aware of movies because at the theaters my dad owned, they were movie theaters as well. But that there was comedians, there was jugglers, there was burlesque dancers, there was everything 24/7. So she as a stage mother, she didn't like it. She didn't have the personality. Again, she was a Gypsy Rose Lee stripper. And that's the kind of personality that isn't going to sit on a set and do crossword puzzles 9 hours out of the
crochet.
day. No. She figured it out real quick. This is the most boring world when you're not in the spotlight and you're just sitting off set, doing nothing for 9 hours out of the day. So she, it was probably good that she wasn't there as that hovering stage mother presence that can be kind of annoying.
Were there ever times on the set of My Three Sons where you realized you were learning more than just acting?
Well, certainly when Tina Cole came on, I certainly understood she was a pretty hot-looking girl, and I was coming into an age where those things were becoming more and more, I could see things that I didn't see when I was 6 or 7. I was probably 12 or 13 going, oh. So I learned that, if that's what you meant. I mean, yes, I learned that there were some very attractive people in Hollywood. Acting wise, you just by osmosis, you just with good people, and hopefully you absorb some of that. And,
Well, Tina was also a member of the King family, right?
She was a King cousin.
A King cousin.
A King cousin, and she was vivacious. And Beverly Garland, who came onto the show, again, she was quite a large personality, and you're just fortunate that I was surrounded by really great talent. And, you just absorb all that. I hope, hopefully.
Ernie.
Yes, Dad.
Thank you, touche. Say, do you still get residuals from My Three Sons as long ago as it was?
No. They paid us, for the actual work that we did. And then in syndication, it was all accounted for in the contract, which that was nice, and nobody dreamed that there was going to be anything known as cable. It was like HBO back in the day. It was a home box office. You had to sign up, and that was one of the first networks, cable networks. But it aired there, and then it went on to MeTV and Nick at Night and all those. So I think maybe at that point I was still getting a little bit of. They had to go back and rewrite the master contract to account for these new distribution systems. And so a pittance, though, just an absolute pittance of what we were getting per episode before. It was something like 1% split among all the cast members. And at that time, I think Viacom owned My Three Sons and was licensing it to their subsidiaries for 39 cents, because why, they're not going to charge themselves $5 million. It'll be nothing because they owned it and were, leasing it to somebody else that they own. So we got 0 pennies, nothing to this day. That's okay. No big deal.
So you have a wife and children?
2 kids.
Two kids? Yeah. Do you like the way life has unfolded for you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what else? I've been dealt a pretty good hand. I mean, I still work. I work pretty consistently. A lot of ups and downs, but at the heart of it is a relationship with my wife. We met in 80, so what's that, 45 years. Married for 43 of them. Kids are great. I just was looking in Rolling Stone and a magazine, which doesn't have the prestige, but I was in two of the top movies of the last this new century, whatever they call it, the 21st century, I guess. Zodiac and Social Network, and I thought, well, that's for an ex-child actor, not too shabby to be in 2 out of the 20 greatest films of this century.
I've seen both of them.
Yeah, and so I've been lucky to get some real nice breaks with some good movies, big movies, working with Clint Eastwood, Jersey Boys, War Dogs, with Jonah Hill, and anyway, so yeah, I'm here. I'm still here, as it says.
Yes, thank you. Is there a memory from filming that fans at home might not have been aware of, but that you remember very clearly?
Well, if there was a lot of episodes. I think it was over 300 that I was in, maybe 298 or something like that. And they all blend into one big episode, really. There was an occasional working with a lion, some goofy storyline that a lion got loose from the circus and just conveniently winds up into the Douglas household. So as a kid, suddenly you're working with a lion off a chain, 10 feet away from you. That was an interesting day at the office. Those were fun, and that, I guess the funny story there is the lion who the trainer had a cage or something that when he wasn't working or chained to something in the back got loose on off his chain, and so he was wandering around the soundstage all by him. They went back. They went, "Where's the lion? He's gone." And so now everyone's in a panic because you're going, you got a man-eating beast wandering around this cavernous soundstage over at Desilu, which is Paramount, gigantic old soundstage, many, many, many dark places for a lion to hide out. So they got everybody all together. They put the kids, Stan and I, locked us in our dressing room. The guy who didn't know what was happening was Demarest. He was arriving at work, didn't realize, because there's no cell phones or anything to contact a person back then. So he comes in from the bright light of outside. You come into a sound stage, it's pitch black usually. Your eyes take a minute to adjust. And as he's walking to his dressing room, of course, that's where the lion was perched very close to his dressing room. And of course, he sure he let out a pretty good string of obscenities, but he ran, and the lion, was drugged up. They had him goofy, whatever, and he chased him though. But he did have a phone in his dressing room, and he said, "I think I found, you guys are looking for your lion, because I think I know exactly where he is. He's outside, my door here." So that's actually how they found him.
A misstep here or there could have been my two sons.
Or we needed another Uncle Charlie, because he was pretty, the predator, a lion like that, just the instincts kicked in, and he outran the lion. So there you go.
Do you ever watch the show?
No.
Never?
No, not really. I mean, I'm not.
I was there. Why should I have to watch it?
I wouldn't avoid it. If it came on, I would watch it. I make no effort to search it out, or if it's there, I'll sit and watch it. But I hear about it, and I hear that it's airing on a lot of the channels that and it's never really gone away. I mean, it's been around since 60 to 72 was the original run. Was in syndication for probably 7 or 8, 9, 10 years, whatever that was. Then along came cable, and cable TV picked it up. Nick at Night, what was their other one that they had? Anyway, then TV Land, and then it's gone on to MeTV, and all these other networks have continually streamed. So it's really almost never been off the air in whatever it's been, 50, 60 years.
You must take a certain amount of pride from that.
I don't think about it. I mean, obviously it's an achievement that I have very little to do with, other than I was part of it and in it. But its longevity is due to the caliber of writing and directing and the actors. McMurray, it transcended generations, in that it was just entertainment. What the demise of My Three Sons and shows kind of like that, Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver, was all in the family. When the turn came, when Norman Lear started making shows more, real, talking about real problems, where we never dealt with cancer, we never dealt with death, we never dealt with anything, integration, all those issues.
Abortion.
That suddenly became like, whoa, My Three Sons is now this dinosaur walking in a land of, new worlds. The one guy actually did a Will and Grace episode with Michael Douglas. And I'd worked with Michael actually on Streets of San Francisco after My Three Sons. But I read in the trades he was trying to reboot the show. But nobody consulted me on that. I just heard about it. And I thought, well, I don't know if it's coming back or where it is. But I thought, oh, great. Michael's going to be on this. I can actually ask him what's happened. Is it going to happen or not? And he said, well, yeah, the problem with it, he was going to play the Steve Douglas part. He said they couldn't get a script that he thought retained the charm and folksy character of the old show, which was, the hallmark of that show, and introduced real problems that kids are facing today, drugs and war and things like that. And he just said we just couldn't kind of bring those worlds together to update it in a realistic way. So, yeah, that never happened.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to know that Michael Douglas was home watching you.
I'm always shocked when I run into people. I met. It works out well in a lot of ways. I did a little film called Dickie Roberts, former child star. And it was just a cameo at the end, and and Adam Sandler produced it. It was really David Spade's movie, but he was part of the Adam Sandler universe. So one day, when I was doing The Guardian over at Sony, Amelia was directing, and at lunchtime I thought, well, I'll go over. I've never met Adam Sandler. I'll go over to his office and I'll say hello, just to see how it goes. Mainly because I'm going, maybe I can hit him up for a job. And I go in, it's lunchtime. He was in actually Judy Garland's old dressing room. Those are his offices over at Sony, which was MGM. Nobody there. I walk out. And here comes Adam, speeding up in his golf cart, covered in sweat, just played basketball with the guys. And I thought, well, okay, here we go. Let's see how this works out. I said, Adam, hey, man, Barry Livingston. Oh, yeah, hi. I said, thanks for putting me in Dickie Roberts. I love being in one of your movies. Oh, sure, I'll put you in one of my movies. Yeah, I'll put you in one of my movies. Yeah. Oh, we used to sit around. The whole family would watch that every Thursday night. Oh, man, of course. So, lo and behold, I would get, every time he'd be doing a movie, for the next 2, 3, 4 years, The Longest Yard, blah, 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 whatever it was. And I'd go in and audition. It wasn't coming from my agents. It was coming from Adam. Finally, You Don't Mess with the Zohan came around, got the call to come in and read. I did well enough in the first reading. I got a call back to say they'd like you to come to a table read at Sony. You don't have the part, but Adam and the group want you to come and read with them. But anyway, I feel a tap on my shoulder to turn around to Adam and goes, see, I told you I'd get you something good. I told you I'd get you something good. And I was like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me, man. You're going to make me cry. Because, who in Hollywood even remembers? People make promises all the time like that. So I don't know how I got on that story. But nonetheless, that the charm of My Three Sons is that it's transcended all these years. All these people still love it. Met Quentin Tarantino not too long ago, and similar. He just was lost his mind that I was in My Three Sons, and now he's standing with Ernie. So yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, I think you were a special part of many people's childhoods.
Yeah, and I think the character of Ernie was a little bit of a groundbreaking character in that it was more of an everyday, average, not terribly blue-eyed, blonde-haired, Aryan, beautiful little boy, like the prototype for most television shows of that era. Like My Brother Stan was probably a perfect example of that. I had buck teeth, I had braces, I had glasses, I had a weird haircut, and so all those things made him a little more relatable, maybe. And I'd say, yeah, he's like a prototype nerd, and that's served me well over the years.
Plus, when your character was introduced, he was adopted.
He was adopted, yeah.
And that elicits a certain amount of sympathy.
Empathy, sympathy,
Empathy,
sure.
sympathy, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of the, a real nod, again, to what Michael Douglas was talking about. Let's do something other than Ernie can't find his skateboard episode. Let's do something about the real world. A child who's needs to be adopted. They didn't tell me this when I got cast in the original episodes that I was in, that I was a foster child. That became in the next year when Tim Considine was leaving and they needed a new son. They said, oh, by the way, Ernie's going to be adopted and he's got foster parents that are leaving the country, so the Douglas family is going to adopt him. So again, those 6 episodes, and if you missed that little transitional period, you'd wonder how I came onto the show, but that was it.
Well, I was raised in the home of a Baptist minister, and so that was one of the shows we were allowed to watch on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because it had those kinds of values.
Yes.
How did you avoid the child star curse, or did you ever experience it?
It comes and goes. I mean, after the show, I mean, my parents were, like I said, they were showbiz savvy. They weren't people connected in any way, but they were well aware of some of the kids that had struggled. Jackie Coogan, Mickey Rooney did pretty well, but still there was a lot of child actors that they knew had problems. So they were always, to a fault, warning me about the hard times that come after the show is over, and I think they prepared me well. But the bottom line was, they said, if you're really going to do this, you got to get really good at it. You can't just rely on the charm and your looks. You got to really study and really become an actor. So I went, okay. I gave it a thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm getting indications, and people were saying, you've got talent, you should try to do it, but you need to develop it. And so I, in L.A., I studied with Martin Landau and Jack Garfien, and went to New York, worked on Broadway and off Broadway, and did the things that I think other guys my age were attempting to do to develop their craft, and so those helped.
Martin Landau of Oscar-winning fame.
Marty, and Marty was kind of in a downturn of his career. He did
after Mission Impossible.
After Mission Impossible, and he was doing all the guest spots, but it was prior to him winning an Oscar for Tucker and what was the great Woody Allen movie? Dracula.
Bela Lugosi. He played Bela Lugosi. He won for that, I think.
I think he won for Tucker.
You think he won for, and he was nominated several years in a row there.
Yes.
Cries and Whispers or Lies.
What was the one with Woody? I can't think of that one, but it was a very, very serious thing, and I can never remember the name of that. Anyway, just prior to his resurgence in his career. And he was, I'm still working, did like Murder at the Amusement Park with Mike Connors, that kind of stuff.
He was the nicest guy, though. He was a great interview,
too.
And
he loved to talk.
Oh, yeah, he was good. Very good.
He loved to talk.
I kidded him. I'll tell this story now. The night he won the Oscars, I was there covering it for E! Or CBS or whomever. And I had been in the bathroom, men's room, which was a beehive of activity, and he went to use the urinal, and he never put his Oscar down, not even to wash his hands. So I quizzed him about that, and he said, hey, it took me so long to win this, I'm not about to put it down. So he was a nice guy, great sense of humor.
Great sense of humor, funny guy. In acting class, you kind of want to get to the point, and Marty would love to diverge into great stories about people that he worked with and knew, but sometimes he got, it's a little verbose.
Not only that, after I interviewed him, I have a job, he has a job, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He would send me notes, Christmas cards.
Really?
He always remembered me. He was just such a decent guy.
Yeah, I think, I don't know what his roots were before his stardom, but I always got the feeling he was well-grounded. And Barbara Bain, his wife,
right.
They were kind of another Hollywood couple. But yeah, he got it. He just got it. He understood fame. He understood craft.
He understood Alfred Hitchcock and North by Northwest.
He was a terrifically talented human being, and yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be right back. If you'd like to be more involved with us at Still Here Hollywood, you definitely can. Just visit patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. You can get our episodes a day before they post anywhere else. You can see what guests will be coming up and submit questions for them. You can even tell us what stars you want us to have on as guests. You'll see what goes on before and after the episode, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes info, pics, video, and more. Again, that's patreon.com/stillherehollywood. What's the most unexpected thing a fan has ever said to you?
I don't know. Who'd you sleep with last night? I don't know.
Dig deep.
I don't know if there's, probably at autograph shows, people are always, did you and Dodie ever date? Those kind of silly questions like that. I
forgot about Dodie.
Yeah, I was like, no, that wasn't that. No, that never happened. Jodie Foster, no, that never happened either. I'm at a loss.
Okay. Were you typecast after My Three Sons?
Yeah, well, that's part of the thing. No, I was very lucky in that most of the things very, very soon after, the very first thing I did after that was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown for Hallmark Hall of Fame. So I had to sing and dance. I had to play Linus. That was a big departure from, but, Linus and Ernie, I can see kind of a
little typecasting
similarity there. But then I did Streets of San Francisco, which was a runaway, Ironsides, where I was kind of a stalker, Room 222, I was a communist sympathizer on campus. I was playing a lot of heavies, teenage heavies, not in the real world. And I'd say the time in my mind, maybe before that, and I did a lot of TV movies. I did another series for CBS called Sons and Daughters, too, which was set in the 50s, but it was a very dramatic-oriented show. But when I did Doogie Howser, and I played a doctor, and I had a recurring role on it, Dr. Rickard, and I thought, I'm finally the guy, I've lost my hair, and I looked older, I looked like a doctor, and Doogie had all the silly, stupid questions, and I was the guy who had the answers finally. I wasn't that goofy kid on campus that's sort of that knows nothing, and so I kind of saw that as a turning point, maybe as really breaking out of the child actor typecast. Yeah.
Life is good?
Yeah, I can't complain.
Tell me about your music.
Well, I've always played. I started playing, piano and guitar when, the Beatles kind of got everybody into music more so. I was always a music fan. When I was doing the Ozzie and Harriet show, Rick Nelson, was huge, and I was well aware of how huge Rick was, and it was, an honor and a privilege to be there for the sock hops that Ozzie would always, it had nothing to do with usually the episode or the story, but if Rick had a record coming out, Traveling Man or Hello Mary Lou, there would always be a sock hop that he would write to tag the show with, and Rick would sing that song, and then 2 days later the song would come out, but 30, 40 million people had been exposed to it on the show. And so my music, I like to write. I love kind of dabbling and writing songs, and it's just a hobby, but I've never really pursued it professionally other than just for my own enjoyment.
Now, that was something they did back then, was having talent that they could cross-promote.
Well, I think Ozzie was one of the first guys that whether he consciously was understood, Well,
he was a big band leader for a while.
Yeah, he and Harriet, his wife, they had a band, but I think he clearly knew the effect of Rick premiering a song on his show would be helpful to the series, and also helpful to promote Rick's record, because instantly 20, 30 million people heard it, and then once it gets released to the all the radio stations, it became a huge hit. So yeah, like
Shelley Fabre with Johnny Angel or the Donna Reed show.
Yeah, mercifully I was spared. My brother did. They were taking the kids from those shows. My dad was Paul Peterson, and Stan did, they wrangled him into doing something called Hairspray and Pen Pal. And, again, trying to, get on board with that TV kid who's singing a song and then, regular song that they could play on the radio. I don't think it went anywhere. But no, I never, they never got me to do that.
Working with David Fincher is notoriously intense.
Yes, it is.
Was it for you?
Yeah. Not for me. I've done 4 projects. I can't say, I'm not going to even go there. But I've done 4 projects. Social Network, Zodiac, and he loves.
Right. That was at Fincher.
And a couple commercials, oddly enough, that he was very big in commercials. Direct and videos, music, Madonna's, I think Material Girl he directed. So yeah, he likes to do things over and over and over, like 20, 30 times takes. He'll probably use the second take or third, but nonetheless, I know Robert Downey Jr. was losing his mind because he just felt like, I got nothing left to give, and I'm on my 29th take. What do you want from me? And he'll say, one more, and I've heard him said that he likes to squeeze the acting out of the actor, that once you've done it that many times, you're just on automatic pilot, and somehow some other color kind of comes through. And but he got an Oscar nomination from Zodiac, and so I didn't mind it. I don't mind doing it 50 times if he wants to do it, because I'm there to work.
Right.
I mean, and if that's his process, I'm all for it, and no problem whatsoever.
But don't you find you go home at the end of the day a little more tired?
Well, when you're in a scene, like some of the scenes in Zodiac were like I was playing one of the guys at the newspaper, and so was Downey and Jake Gyllenhaal. They were reporters, and we'd have a scene where 6 or 7, 8 actors could be in the scene. It'd be a 3 or 4 page scene, so you're doing the master 29 times, you're doing your close-up 29 times, you're doing a 2-shot 29 times, and then you're doing offstage dialogue for all the other actors 29 times. That's an awful lot of time that you're doing a scene. You can't quibble with the results. The end result is usually really pretty good. It's exhausting to some people. I mean, my I didn't have the kind of load to carry in either of those movies that the stars did, so I can't say, gee, that was that exhausting. But for them, I could understand.
It sounds like early on, had you been given the choice of what career you would take, it sounds to me like the career you have is pretty close to what you would have liked to be doing.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm always up for, I would love to have that career that Ed Asner had. Somebody goes into their 80s and their 90s, and they're still find a niche that they can do, whether it's the grandpa role or the judge or, something like that, the CEO of the law firm. You go through those stages in your career and your life, and I hope I can keep it going for another 5, 10, 20 years. We'll see.
Whew, that's a long time, 5, 10, 20 years.
Yes, I hope so.
You've been acting over 6 decades.
Yes, I have.
That would take you to 7 or 8 decades.
It would. I don't know who holds it. Probably Mickey Rooney holds the record, I would think, because he started, probably in his early teens, and he was still doing it,
I know there's video exists of him playing Puck in a very early production of
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah. And he looks like a kid. He looks like a baby.
Yeah.
I think he was wearing a diaper.
I did a Dick Powell theater across the street at CBS, and Mickey, it was called Somebody's Waiting, and Mickey was the star of it, and the director was not Arthur Penn, but it was somebody of that caliber who was doing television at that time, and it was, that was post his big era where he was the top star in America. He and Judy Garland for 5, 10 years in the 30s. But it was, that's a good guy to kind of look at and go, he had a great career. I would love to have that career.
How tall are you?
5'5".
5'5". Just curious.
And shrinking.
Never. Me too. It's such a shock the first time you go to the doctor and they say, and your weight is going in the opposite direction.
This is going up, the other's going down.
You've also appeared in Mad Men, The X-Files, and Bosch.
The recurring role in Bosch, yes. The
and
Bosch
You.
Legacy. And You, no, I don't think I did You. Most recently, The Connors, Mrs. Davis, Lessons in Chemistry. A little movie called Isabel's Garden. I just did a film with Michael Douglas, again, called Looking Through Water, that I think is going to be coming out pretty soon. The COVID and everything kind of shut everything down for a bit, but things should be picking up a little.
How'd you get through the strike?
I did a couple things during the strike. I did an episode of The Rookie, and, really weird times that, when you're on set, they put you in a little tent, like a little tiny little personal tent, and they zip it up, and you sit there because they don't want to shut production down. You're sitting there with a mask on, sweating like a pig because there's no air in this thing. And you'd go out to the scene wearing your mask. If somebody was a handler, they'd come up just before they were about to do the take and go, okay, take your mask off, give it to this person, then you do your scene, and then cut, okay, put your mask on. Back to doing that. It was like, wow, this is.
And they probably had somebody there monitoring that everybody followed the rules.
Or hopefully you don't get the wrong mask, but yeah.
Did you ever wish My Three Sons had a final episode? Per se, a sign-off, goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Yeah, it would have been nice. Life goes on. I don't know how they could have concluded it. There was no Ernie finally moves out. I don't know, Ernie on welfare. I don't know where you go with that. But at the end, really, the last season, I think Don Grady had pretty much left the show. Stan had pretty much left the show. At home, it was me, Fred, Bill Demarest, Beverly Garland, Don Lynn, and the dog. So,
and Dodie.
And yeah, Don Lynn was Dodie.
Oh,
yes. So that was the end of the way it went out. We did a really goofy. Dick Clark put together a My Three Sons Partridge Family Thanksgiving reunion show, and total money gig. Whatever. But yeah, made no sense at all. But whatever.
We'll be back in a moment. So which role of yours do you think is the most underrated?
Well, I love doing this little movie called Notorious Nick, and I had a really starring great role in it. It came out a few years ago, I think 2022, 21. But it was a real life story about a guy who was born with a congenital defect, and he was missing the forearm on his right side, I guess it was. And he... true story. Nick Newell is his name, and he became a world champion MMA fighter. I played his wrestling coach in the movie when he was in high school, and of course he, wanted to pursue mixed martial arts, which is a brutally violent sport. But everyone's going, "How do you do that with one arm? You're going to get your ass whipped here." And so, but he had this vision, this dream, and he came back to me because nobody else wanted to handle him or train him, and I became his coach and trainer in MMA, and the guy went on to win a world championship. It was an amazing story. It's like a Rocky kind of story, and I find it at Amazon Prime if you're interested. But yeah, I love that. I love that part. I love that movie.
What advice would you give people today who were your age when you got in the business? Well, that was pretty young.
You got to study, and you got to be patient, and you got to be persistent, and you got to have thick skin because there's going to be an awful lot of rejection. And again, in my life, I've been very blessed with a wife who has been extremely tolerant, extremely patient. I'll go down rabbit holes that that she'll pull me out of all the time, dejected, thinking it's over, and then something wonderful seems to come out of nowhere. And I try not to go there as much, but it's I'm only human, and I'm going, this is it. Maybe that's it. I'm done. Nobody calls and gives you a gold watch or even a tin watch. The phone stops ringing. And when it doesn't ring for months on end, you go, I don't know, maybe that's it, but no, it's hard to keep hopeful.
Do you think you'll know when to let go, or? Well,
it's a good question. I hope I will know when. Personally, I'll make that choice to go. It's time to let go. A lot of that depends on your mental acuity. If you can show up and not,
drool,
be drooling or blowing your lines in every take, at that point it becomes pretty obvious that you shouldn't be doing this anymore. So far, that hasn't happened.
In your book, The Importance of Being Ernie, you're brutally honest. Was there any story you hesitated to tell?
No, I mean, again, I just finished Social Network, so I thought it was, here's like kind of come back up to a nice, real, very highly acclaimed Oscar-winning movie. Through I had ups and downs and some nice gigs throughout the years, but I thought, well, this is a great time to maybe kind of look back. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, there were eras where I was indulging in too much, all kinds of things, let's say. But that was in the 70s. I'm not making any excuses. No endorsement. Don't do it if you're thinking about doing it. But that was the era of Hollywood, and I don't think it did much to damage my brain or my reputation, because frankly there was people doing a heck of a lot more things than I was doing. So I would, I mean, that's just an era, and you go through eras in life, and you hopefully you're not your worst enemy, and hopefully you learn something from your mistakes and use it. Sometimes it was great to have that as a background for a character that you would do. So I don't regret it at all.
I'm still waiting to learn from my mistakes.
Well, keep at it.
Is there a role you still dream of playing?
Not really. I had a really dream gig in this last year. I played in Cyrano de Bergerac, which is one of my favorite plays, at the Pasadena Play. I wasn't Cyrano, but I had a couple of really nice roles in it. So to be on that legendary stage in that particular play was a great. Again, it was a dream job come true. So maybe more theater work. I'd love to do something, maybe American Buffalo or Glengarry Glen Ross or some of these great classic plays, but maybe they're done to death, so I don't know.
You seem to have a really good handle on not letting things get out of hand.
Yeah, well, that's, again, I got a wife that's not afraid to kick me in the butt.
She gets all the credit.
She should, and she deserves every bit of it, too. And, and 2 kids that are great. And, again, a ton of gratitude for people that still feel I have something to offer professionally. And I still try to do my part to make things happen and develop relationships. And I'm going to go in next week for an in-person audition for a network show, but mainly because I went, you know what? Everyone does self-tape auditions these days, and they have a very limited window now that you can come in and ask for an in. But I thought, I want to go in not just to read and get the role, which I hope I get, but to meet those new casting people in person, because they got to feel your energy. All they see on a little screen, and they can see your audition and with 50 other people, but it's really important to get in the room with somebody, and these are going to be, it's a big casting company, so it'll probably be reading with the associate casting person, who in 5-10 years from now will be a casting director. But if they don't know who you are, in some ways you don't really have an opportunity even in a room to show that. But if you do, it's a smart thing to do. Those are the things that I think are important to make those contacts and not let them go.
It's still about networking in this city.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I've gotten the role in Bosch came about because I did Argo, the movie, and sitting next to me pre-Bosch was Titus Welliver, and he seemed to be a huge fan of My Three Sons. Everywhere I went, Titus was following me around. I'm going, I'd get out a golf cart to go have lunch, and he'd go, "Where are you going?" He'd go, "Oh yeah, come on." And I remember I did an episode of 2.5 Men, and I saw the producers, and I said, "Oh, stop! I want to say hello to these guys." Titus hops off with me, and I go, "Okay, come on, let's go." I go, "Well, that's cool." But anyway, fast forward a few years later, and I saw this role that was being cast in Bosch, and he was the star of it. And I said, "Hey, man, I've done medical examiners before. You want to put my name?" "Oh, yeah, of course, sure." So, he reached out to casting, and I knew the casting director. But again, he got back to me and said, "You hear from them yet?" Most people don't do that. They'll go, yeah, I'm on it. But he got back to me and said, "Do you hear from them?" And I said, "No, not yet." But, he said, "You will." And sure enough, I heard from the casting people, and that kind of laid the groundwork for a nice recurring role in that. So it's personal,
One last question. How often do you see Stanley?
Not often enough. He's moved out to the Inland Empire.
Ooh, Palm Springs? San
Just
Bernardino?
outside Beaumont, which is just outside.
Oh, yeah,
of
Beaumont, Banning.
Morongo.
Right.
So yeah, he's just geographically we're a little bit further apart. He used to live in Laurel Canyon forever. He bought my parents' house that we grew up in Laurel Canyon, and so he sold that maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So yeah, I love my brother, and I love the time that we can be together. Probably see him in a few weeks from now. So yeah, it's always good.
Thanks.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate
I had a
being
good time.
Oh, I hope so. I had a good time.
Still Here Hollywood is a production of the Still Here Network. All things technical run by Justin Zangerle. Theme music by Brian Sanishin. And executive producer is Jim Lichtenstein.